you can take your seats. Pastor Paul, could you take your seat too, please?
I didn't know I had a seat.
You do, and it has your name on it and everything. You can set a good example for everyone. There's lots more people coming. It'll fill up. So where? We have somebody who should be coming out in just a moment. I'll tell you. There we are. Pastor Paul, we have something that we would like to give to you.
Thank you, Mimi. So I have been honored by the Outreach Board to do this presentation for them, okay? The Richmond Beach Congregational Church Outreach Board would like to present to Reverend Dr. Paul Ashby this award of appreciation for his 8 years of dedicated pastor. Pastor Paul has been recognized with 2 national awards, the Lilly Endowment and the Louisville Institute Award, both for his interfaith with global the diverse ethnicities and cultures of our own neighbors. We also is accepting every person where they are, accepting their beliefs as that's who they are, opening the door to peace, respect, and love, paramount to saving the world. Water below. Water also represents reflection, as in the saying from Psalms 27:19. As one's face is reflected when looking into water, so too one heart's felt is reflected in the heart of another. For Pastor Paul, from the Outreach Board, peace, shalom, salam.
Thank you. This is wonderful and amazing. I see the Smith Tower, and I see Space Needle. Anyone recognize any other building? Oh, okay, Amazon. All right. All right, wonderful. That's magnificent. Wow. I don't know how you do that. Anyone know how do you do that? I think I'd have to glue like 18 pieces back together. That's how I do that. Okay, wow, that is tremendous. That is beautiful. And that is a true work of art. Wow.
And that will be inside.
Okay,
If people
wow.
want to look at it.
Thank you. And thank you to the many people who've brought peanut butter to share with our neighbors in need. It goes so fast that we often forget, what really makes a person happy. And the Lutherans reminded me when they said, every time we put peanut butter in that pantry, it disappears within an hour or two. So thank you for being a part of delight of people you will never meet, perhaps, on this journey of life. It's funny, we look a little different when we're wearing our mask and we're not wearing our Sunday clothes. I went up to Wilma and I said, Wilma, how you doing? She says, oh, I'm doing great. And I said, you gonna root for the Seahawks tonight? She says, yes, they're playing. She even knew who they were playing against. And then after talking with her, she says, and who are you? So sometimes you have to go like this, So thank you for the incredible patience y'all have had during this COVID time. It has been a tough, very difficult year and a half. Not just incredible patience and support of the church. I bring it up in the sermon tomorrow, but a lot of churches had budget meltdowns during COVID, and y'all supported the church literally 110%. Do you know that? You're in over budget. So I appreciate your generosity in a time when many people were facing unemployment, many people were facing desperate housing situations, many people were worried about eviction. So, I'm just very grateful for that generosity and spirit that has kept us going through this time. And how many have enjoyed the outdoor service a couple weeks ago? Oh, I maybe we should do more of those. But thank you all for being here and for celebrating. And, thanks for sharing the love together and service together that we have. Beverly started this in April. That doesn't surprise me. Beverly starts a lot of things early. And, she has a heart for outreach. And if you want to know what gets a church through rough waters, it's not focusing on the small ego stuff. It's focusing on what you can do to help others and to be a source of blessing to others. And that's how churches grow too. So thanks, Beverly.
So, several people were unable to be here today and sent me their speech. So I spoke with David Green, and he emailed this to me. I don't know if you all remember David, but he is living now down in Battleground, but still thinks very fondly of you, Pastor Paul. He said, "Dear RBCC-UCC family, this letter is in appreciation of Pastor Paul Ashby for everything he's done for RBCC and I. You see, Paul Ashby has always been there for anyone and everyone who has been in need, and when I had things bothering me, he would always take time out of his tight schedule to hear me out, and he would help me with wonderful advice and comfort. And after listening to him, I was always able to make the right decision in my times of trial. Paul Ashby has always been there for his church family also and listened to their problems and helped them through their times. It is with great sadness that I see that he is leaving the church, and I pray with open heart and soul that he finds another church where he is welcome for the servant of Christ he is. So Paul Ashby, I can honestly say thank you for being my forever pastor in both physical and spiritual needs, and God bless you and your family also."
Just want to mention one thing about David Green and his amazing endurance. He set a record at Northwest Hospital that no one should ever want to set. He was there for 361 straight days recovering from a shattered ankle. So, amazing endurance.
He said, "While I may not be adding anything new, I want to congratulate you on your service as pastor at RBCC. You have provided a friendly face and been welcoming to open discussions over the years. I luckily did not end up in the hospital or otherwise need serious care. Your efforts and outreach to those in need is commendable. I enjoyed your sermons, giving good context interpretation to the scriptures and connection with our current everyday world. Your interest in travel, history, interfaith studies resulted in excellent perspectives provided on how our other communities live, some in parallel to ours. I wish you and Pam a wonderful new venture with the new congregation. Thank you for your time here. By the way, too bad you sold the Camaro. You might end up in a dry, warm climate again." And this is from Evan. On Pastor Paul's first day at Richmond Beach Congregational Church, he found a note on his desk that 2 members were hospitalized, Bob Rogers in Everett and me at Swedish Cherry Hill. So he had to bounce back and forth between the 2 of us and quickly learned local geography and traffic patterns. Over the years, he has visited me dozens of times in hospitals and recovery facilities. He's always offered a topic of discussion and a cheerful word before we finish with a prayer. We have discussed all aspects of current and past national and local politics and national and local sports. I have always enjoyed his book discussion groups, particularly because he always picks challenging books to read. I've enjoyed his visits to my home where he shows off his sandwich making skills. I'm sure he is a Congregationalist rather than an Orthodox Jew because he does great things with ham and cheese. Yeah. So, would anyone like to come up and take a turn? And we're going to have lots of opportunity, but be ready so you can leap up. You can be next.
I can't leap.
You'll do fine.
A shark in a fish tank will grow 8 inches, but in the ocean, it will grow to 8 feet or more. The shark will never outgrow its environment. 8 years ago, when I awoke from a coma, I met our new pastor, and my fish tank grew into an ocean. To say I have learned an extraordinary amount of history, economics, background on other religions and cultures, all while learning Christianity, is to say a mouthful. The first time Pastor Paul spoke words from a Muslim Sunni poet, a light bulb went off. I was taken back further with his references to other Eastern religions and religious figures on their wisdom down through the centuries. And he wove it all as he taught us the beautiful, human, and godly side of Jesus Christ. On May 16th of this year, Pastor Paul preached about Jesus being up there, over there, up in the air, asking the question, where is Jesus? And Pastor Paul's answer was, Jesus comes to us in the form of the poor, the homeless, the sick, the immigrant, the refugee, the wide-eyed child. And me, in the shark tank grew many more inches because his words made me understand. His words made my Christian environment grow. My shark tank got bigger. And then, right after he finished preaching that about where is Jesus, Susan Moore sang Stephen Winbush's Higher Love. And once again, I knew I was in the right church. Thank you, Pastor Paul. You shall be missed, and your wisdom and intelligence will not be forgotten. Thank you.
Beverly is not a shark, she's a butterfly. Everyone knows that from what she wears. Come on.
Yeah.
Which one? The other one?
You can,
Okay.
you can pull it down. There you go.
Dear Paul, how privileged we have been to have you as a pastor in 2 churches, UCCLM in La Mesa, California, and also Richmond Beach Congregational here in Shoreline. We tried to attend church every Sunday, as we didn't want to miss any of your interesting and inspiring sermons. You will truly be missed, and Pam, you will be missed also. Your warm personality and your very special hugs will always be remembered. Thank you both for being a part of our lives. We wish you all the best as you go on your journey in life. Love always, from Roy and Leona.
Come on, Cliff.
There we go. That's a lot better.
It's not twice as high as it was.
I know. Well, I was going to write a poem. And then I thought, well, that's hard. I'll write a speech. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'll do haikus. They're short, right? Well, I don't have time for any of that. So, so if you don't mind, I'm going to make it up off the fly. I just think when March happened, right, last year, and can you believe it? It's more than 18 months. Anyway, it's been a lot of months, and this all went down, and I said, well, we can put this. Let's meet and let's do this recording, and we'll do this. So, and we've been doing it, and it's grown from, it's a whole team of people that have now supported this, but one constant is Paul. And every other Sunday, actually, sometimes we record the sermons a little bit in advance. But every time he showed up, he's there, he's ready, he's patient as we work through our ad nauseum technical challenges, and, things happen. The Wi-Fi's down, the camera doesn't work. There's always some futzing. And in fact, sometimes that's taken into the evening. And so I just was thinking of the spirit of gratitude, of appreciation for others, and what that means for all of us, and how we come together as a congregation, and how we've been able to do that as best we can through this pandemic. And so, thank you, Paul. This day especially is for you, and I just thank you, and wish you the best in your new adventures, wherever that takes you. Thank you.
And none of this could have happened without Cliff. And he didn't tell you about the time. I don't even remember if it was a Christmas Eve or something. We were taping till I got home about 11:50. We met at 11. Yeah, so we've had some weird hours that we've covered, and he was there for all of them too.
So I first want to share about Paul as the minister of our church, and then more personally about his minister to me. So if you recall, 8 years ago when Paul was called here, we're still getting a little bit over the trauma of Joy being censured. And, when Paul was called, I was just remembering what the contrast he was to Pastor Joy. I think of 5 in particular. He was male and she was female. He was straight and she was a lesbian. He came without kids and Joy had Gabriel and Lindsay. He was, he was multi-faith, and Joy was pretty much more into Christian focused. He was more kind of cerebral. Joy was much more emotional. And his office was stacked with books. You could hardly sit anywhere. And Joyce was as neat as a pin. This was not Paul's first church, and he had a steady hand. He really led us through. Always enjoyed his sermons, his Bible study. And then, as Cliff said, then a pandemic hit. I've actually sat in that choir loft with Cliff a couple times when Pastor Paul has to do 2 sermons back to back. Imagine doing that for 15 months. And that's just not all he did during that 15 months. Kept a lot of us together. There was the Ronald Cafe, there's Camp United We Stand, lots of outreach. So that's the church. On a more personal note, many of you may recall back in May of 2017, I was struck with pancreatitis. This pancreas right here blew up 3 times its normal size. Extremely painful. It crushed all the other organs around here, particularly my kidneys, which almost stopped functioning and almost caused me to die a couple times. But I was so severely sick, both physically and cognitively, I was unaware of what was going on. When I say cognitively, those many mental status exams, I knew the date only because I'd look at the board, and I knew I was in a hospital, but I could not, for the life of me, remember the University of Washington. But I was at Northwest for 4 weeks, UW 16 weeks, that's 20 weeks. Paul came twice a week, religiously. And sometimes I'd wake up and bong, there was Paul. And I was in pain here and nauseous 24/7. I lost 45 pounds. And Paul would sometimes just hold my hand. He couldn't bring food because I would puke it up if he gave it to me, but he was always, always there. We'd pray. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence. He'd give me pep talks. Sometimes I didn't even want to hear them, but anyway, he was always there. And after that, I spent 13 weeks at Richmond Beach Rehab, and he came twice a week. Less of a travel distance, but he still came. And I had a PICC line. PICC line is almost like a permanent IV in my arm, and that's what kept me alive. And that PICC line became infected, and they sent me to the University of Washington. They took it out. And Dr. Horvath, who was in charge of my care, looked at me and said, "David, hang in there. I know it's been 7 months, but you're eventually going to get better." And I said, "You know what, Dr. Horvath? I don't believe a damn word you're telling me. I think it's happy talk. I don't want that PICC line put back in. I want to go on hospice. I don't want to go back to Richmond Beach Rehab. I want to go home, and I want to die. And before I die, I say goodbye to Gabriel on the phone. I say goodbye to Lindsay. Some of you came, Sue Moss came to say goodbye to me. Joy came by on my deathbed, and we shared our last words in tears, and Pastor Paul came. He tried to talk me out of it. He said, "You have a lot to live for, maybe grandkids." And he could not. I was determined. My quality of life sucked. I did not want to live with this pain. And so he finally gave me rights, and he left. And I said one more prayer to God. I said, "God, I am ready to die." And I actually heard a quiet voice that said, I'm not done with you yet. And I had Dr. Horvath put that PICC line back in. And I went back to Richmond Beach Rehab, and I eventually was able to eat again. And so that's why I'm standing here today. But this man here, he's more than just my minister. He's my best friend, a good friend. So my last thing to say here is, Paul is leaving much before his time here is done. He's leaving before he's ready to leave, but he's leaving with grace and with dignity.
Yeah. Now, David had one memory blip in there, and that is he and Pam both love watermelon. So I asked him on a couple occasions when he was at UW, would you want me to bring anything? And he said, watermelon. So we did bring watermelon 3 times, and he was able to keep it down once. So if you remember watermelon, remember David.
Three years ago in January, after serving and cleaning up at Ronald Commons Cafe, I had a heart attack and found myself flat on my back in the middle of a copy center. And they got me to Swedish Hospital very quickly and had a stent added to my cardiac array. And during the 3 days of recovery from that, besides the 3 angels who came and sat on my bed, when I got home, I received a telephone call from Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, somewhere like that. And it was Pastor Paul asking about my recovery condition and likely prognosis. A transcontinental call across 15,000 miles. In spite of the weakness from his fasting and the depth of his meditation, he found a way to make that call. And Paul, for these and all your gifts of faithfulness, love, and generosity, Don and I are deeply grateful. One more story, if I may. I once heard a director of a Lutheran rescue mission tell a group of business people downtown, when you come down to the end of the on-ramp and you encounter a beggar there, don't believe the sign right away. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, but it's not the best kind of giving and supporting for people who find themselves in that situation. But I find myself coming to the end of the driveway at the mall or coming to the end of the on-ramp off the freeway, and you read the sign, your eyes meet, and what do? I mean, sometimes you just stare out over the hood and say, man, I wish the signal would change. I remembered that the director of the Lutheran Compass Center said, don't give them money. If you have money to give for that purpose, give it to the Compass Center. And then Pastor Paul appeared at RBCC and made this suggestion. Peanut butter. Man does not live by bread alone. And so Don and I have always traveled with one of these, either in the center console, the door, or the glove box. And I would say over 8 years, we have probably given away 24 of these. And the thing I want to, it's just really, it's very gratifying and satisfying to do and not expensive at all. And I just want to tell you about 3 examples out of those 24 who politely declined. One of these, I came down to the end of the on-ramp. There the fellow was, right near the window. I powered the window down, stuck the peanut butter out, and he said, oh, I already have one of those. So I gave it, the next time, say about 2 days later in downtown Seattle, Same thing happened. Stuck it out the window. Mendicant comes over and says, "Oh, I don't really like that kind." Yeah, I bought the wrong kind. And finally, the fellow near the mall in Linwood who said, I'm traveling and I have to keep the pack as light as possible. Do you have any money? Anyway, thank you, Pastor Paul, for teaching us love and generosity in the right form, in the right place, for the right people. Thank you.
Who said beggars have to be choosy? Well, Sharon wrote, she composed an appreciation note for me to read, or actually, after she got it all written up, she says, "Should I give this to Mimi?" And I looked at it and I read it and I said, "Nah, I'll do it." So Sharon is one of these people that cannot possibly get up in front of a group and speak about something emotional. She's okay with figures and numbers and finance things because there's nothing emotional about that. But she did such a fine job on this, I thought, okay, I'll read it. And I will not go into any further stories other than the fact that I got to thinking that in the 8.5 years that you've been here, Pastor Paul, I don't think you've ever seen me up in front of a microphone. So I do. And I would not want you and Pam to leave our neighborhood without at least experiencing the opportunity of me standing up here saying something. So this, like I said, is written by Sharon, and she said appreciation for Pastor Paul Ashby for the years at RBCC-UCC. George and I have appreciated Pastor Paul's sermons that have enhanced our knowledge of biblical history, as well as sharing compassion of other religions that are not so difficult from our own beliefs, not so different from our own beliefs, helping us to understand the scriptures and making it more relevant today, and how to work towards understanding each person's individual journey and finding common ground. Thank you, Pastor Paul and Pam, for being in our midst over the 8 years and caring and visiting our members wherever you could. We wish you all the blessings, many blessings, in your new adventures, wherever they take you. Thank you for being our pastor. And it is tough, I admit.
On the last Sunday, I have a very big thank you for the trustees. They are an amazing group, and their generosity is really keeping the building from falling down. But it is an amazing gift that they share. And during this whole COVID time, I'd be in the office and it was dead quiet, except sometimes for Horizon School. But then I'd hear a banging, and sooner or later I knew it was George or John Thelke or Sharon, and I just appreciate those who made it a lot less lonely in the office the last 18 months.
I just want to add a few more quick things that I like about Pastor Paul. I like that this man doesn't sweat the small stuff. I like it that he speaks up, sometimes loudly, about the things that really matter. I like his and I like Pam's very generous. Paul's laugh fills up the room better than a big group hug. Let's see, what else do I like? Well, you know, one thing I really like about Pastor Paul is that he's messy and mortal and has something in common and something in common with every other minister and every other human being, in fact, that I've ever met upon this earth. And that is that he's not good at every single thing. I feel comforted by that a great deal. Pastor Paul, thank you for being you.
I don't have anything new to say that you haven't heard or you don't already know in your own heart about the joy that we've had having Paul and Pam here with us over the last 8 years. You've heard exactly that they have shepherded us as a congregation, and I think us individually. I know myself and for my family through difficult times and through loss, and have been there to hold our hands, to pray with us, to sing with us, to offer that sort of steady hand. And I sincerely appreciate having shared that walk with you, who have gotten the insight. You were certainly a godsend to us as a family and as a church, and I wish you Godspeed and safe travels wherever you both end up. Take care.
I just want to add that one of the most beautiful experiences I had here was the evening we spent together when your dad Earl was dying. The family gathered, and there was such an outpouring of love and grace, and phone calls long distance, and letting go and praying for his release. And as soon as we prayed for his release, he was letting go, and it was a very meaningful night.
Okay, so there's another part to your gift, and because so many wonderful words have already been said, I decided to be inspired by Cliff's, rather than saying, adding to it. I got inspired to do a haiku. So, and simple. As we walk through life, we meet great stars like Paul. Give peanut butter.
Well, I'm not quite prepared to give any kind of a speech, but I have been here for quite a few years in this church and have known almost all the pastors one time or another. And Paul has been very unique and shares a love of sci-fi that I do. We don't always agree on a lot of different political or other sides of things. But when I was sick with staff and in hospital, all of a sudden I have a pastor here coming to visit me, and it was an area that was restricted, and yet here he is. Pam is just this wonderful soul that just has been a joy, that sent me pictures when they were traveling. Just the two of them have just been welcoming and made this more of a home, which I'm really going to miss. I just don't understand what's going on around here, but it's going to be a real tough world without that ability to get in a TARDIS and travel in time. So appreciate you, and appreciate you, Pam, both, for all you've done for us and for me personally. Actually, I stayed awake for most of your services, which is, was really quite unique, and I really have enjoyed your the teleprompter by Cliff here, putting it all together. That has been just an absolute joy that we were able to continue to have services that, without the effort put out by Cliff and by yourself and by others, to make this a church family and keep our community together. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, hey, here's the best part.
Michael is also one of the saints behind the scenes here. Our now 6-decade-old electrical system is a bit like burnt spaghetti. And he comes in and he patches it and fixes it and puts it back together and reworks it. And so thank you for the light you've added to my life every day. Every day when I turn on the light, I can say, thank you, Michael. And also, thank you for something that, people take for granted. We're sort of budget people. We don't have cable. We have an antenna. Michael put it up.
8 years ago, I was your first lay leader. And we discussed that in the worship board and said, who are we going to have for Paul's first lay leader? And I said, it's going to be me. I had met you and Pam when you came for your first time in the Lena Voorhees room here at the church together. But my wife, Barb, got to escort you around to the museums in Seattle before you'd moved to Seattle. And she loved those moments with you. She apologizes for the way she drives. But she gets there. One of the greatest things that you've done for Barb is to be with her mom and to recognize her her mom. In her last years, Elaine wasn't the woman I knew when I married into the family. And we've been together, Barb and I have been together nearly 48 years. But you brought her the grace that she deserved. And you recognized her and you understood her situation, who she was. And for you to be with Barb and her brother right after her mom passed, that was very special. Now, Barb can't be here today because she's had foot surgery. But I know that these are her important words for you. Now, another foot surgery that you walked into our life with was when my son Matt was in a terrible motorcycle accident and he lost part of his foot. And he was in the hospital for quite a few weeks. And you were there. You were that constant. And we'd go to visit, Paul's already there. Or we go to visit and Paul is there. Paul comes as we come. And for my son Matt, that's so very, very special. He appreciates your faithfulness. And he says he's going to miss you very much. And I must say, you've been the inspiration for me for Ronald Commons Cafe. You're the kind of person who's encouraged people to just go out and do it. And when that opportunity came around, I thought, I can do that because I've got the support here that I can do it with. You showed up almost every week for the longest time in that serving line. And I'm sure that you graced the lives of so many people who would have never had that opportunity if you hadn't been in that serving line. And I appreciate everything you've done for us. Thank you, Paul.
It was truly my joy, Bill, and I am so grateful for Matt's health and well-being. Things looked very, very difficult when he was first in the hospital. I am just so grateful. Not only has he gone back to firefighting, he has won awards as a firefighter since his recovery. I will say that I've only had like 20 minutes of terror in my time in Seattle, and that was when I was riding back from the art museum with Barb, and there was a hailstorm and snowstorm, and she was driving 65, 70. I was scared to death. It was 20 minutes of terror, and the only 20 minutes of terror I've had in Seattle.
Pastor Paul, you have some special gifts in that little bag, and I would like for you to open them and show the rest of the group what you were gifted. I don't want you to take them home and nobody get to see them.
I thought it was a make your own peanut butter kit, but but it's not a make your own peanut butter kit. It is a beautiful work of art, and I don't know who did it. A group effort. Wow. Wow. How about a picture of that? Got a camera? I think I see Delia's triangular talent in this. It looks like trees. So, who helped in the needlework? Leanna and Ruth Ann. Wow. Wow. Thank you.
Now there should be something else in the bag too.
That's a do-it-yourself peanut butter kit? A hammer with peanuts?
You don't see anything else, Pam? I got it.
Is this a weapon of some sort? I mean, what is that? Sheesh. Feels like a martial arts weapon. Okay. Oh, now this is very relevant. Some of you remember the campaign of the United Church of Christ? Don't put a period where God places a comma. And there are lots of commas in life.
And Corinne is responsible for that.
All right. You made it. Oh my goodness. So I got one of a kind. Oh, this is going to be nice in a future office. Wow.
I actually wasn't going to speak, but hearing the stories being shared really inspired me to share a quick one of my own. Paul, you stood by me in times of great need. I didn't know how to announce what I needed, and somehow you knew. And I will never walk into a Subway sandwich shop and feel quite the same about it. So thank you for Subway sandwich ministry. It grounded me at a time when I felt adrift. And I think that our spiritual journey here with this family takes a lot of different shapes and a lot of different forms. And you had your own special brand of helping me through my portion of the journey. So you will be missed. Thank you very much.
John, you're a great person and a great soul. And that's all I said. And I'm just so glad you heard it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Paul, for allowing me to make all of those sometimes they weren't absolutely accurate and you edited them. Thank you. Love and hugs.
Now, Wilma, you left out one thing, and that is my first year here, I started going to games with the Seahawks, and what happened to the Seahawks? Ball.
So there were several other people who were not able to be here, and Carol put together this book with their things, and I am asked to read them. And this is from Donna Kiskadden, who's at your sermon, so your background in the to our RBCC family and the entire community. I personally appreciate the wisdom and relevancy of your sermons. Each provided take-home messages pertinent to daily issues, and they were all inclusive. We were blessed to have your and Pam's presence to share this time and space with us on our journey through life. Go well and stay well. Peace, shalom, salam. Ellen Looney. I have only known Pastor for a short time, but I will miss his sense of humor and openness. Sally Bukowski. Thanks for everything. I will miss you. Who will look for me if I don't show up sometime? Bob and Anita Schaup. Thanks to you and Pam for being brave enough to come to Seattle and resettle in our community. Thank you for your thoughtful weekly insights each Sunday and your outstanding pastoral care of our sick and shut-in congregants. Thank you for your patience and empathy for us. Thank you for being engaged with other denominations and religions and teaching us about them. Our congregation is stronger, united, and hopeful for the future despite the pandemic due to your care and leadership. You will be greatly missed. Best wishes, prayers, and blessings for your future plans and happiness, Bob and Anita Schaup. Janice and Alan Fletcher. Pastor Paul, we are very sorry that you are leaving. Peter Blue family. We are not 100% sure we can attend. If we are here, we would not miss it. Paul has been a major influence in our lives. Len and Leslie Anderson. You have been a wonderful minister. Best of everything. This is a bittersweet appreciation day. Craig and Ann Schultz. We are very sorry to see Pam and Paul leave and wish them the very best on their next venture. Sylvia Taylor. Paul and Pam, thank you for your 8 years plus of service to our congregation and the community. It is hoped your next ministry will be filled with joy, peace, and a lovely home for you both. I sincerely wish you happiness and good health. Jim and Joanne Ware. We will miss you, Paul and Pam, and wish you well wherever you go. They will be lucky to have you both. Lots of hugs, Jim and Joanne. Steve and Kate Getty. Paul, thanks for your thoughtful preaching, ecumenical insights, and beautiful presence among us. We will miss you and Pam and are praying your next adventure will be everything you want and need for it to be. The Sheffield family, love and best wishes. Tina Littleton, sending good wishes. Is there anybody else who wants to say something? And then I get to wrap it up.
Well, I know Paul in a different way than most of you. Paul and I often meet at a bar, and Paul is a true hockey fan. And through the years, he and I get together when the Stanley Cup is going on, and we get together and watch the Stanley Cup hockey. And he's also gotten for the Everett Silvertips and has invited me, I think, every year that he's been here. And it's a really special time. And I have to admit, before I go to the games, I always look up in the sports page to find out what they are, because he knows about hockey than anyone else I know. And he'll know who's leading the league, who's scoring the most goals, everything there is. And so anyway, it's always a great opportunity to see Paul in a different light. He's a true hockey fan. He's just a really good person to be with. We have a great time. And, we sit with people at the bar, and, he'll strike up conversations with whoever's there. And he's just, we all know what a truly spiritual guy he is, and how, knowledgeable he is about such a variety of things. But he can just talk to the average guy next to him. And that's something that I really admire, Paul. It's not something that everybody has that skill. And no, you never did come to see me in the hospital, which fortunately I haven't been in the last 8 years. I thank God for that. But you were there for me when the Bruins lost in that Game 7, and I will never forget you for that. So thank you.
The truth is we care for each other. One of the notes that you missed was the quick one from Sally Bukowski. Sally Bukowski one Monday, right before the Bible study was to begin, sent a message saying, I need the scripture readings, and then she didn't show up for the Zoom Bible study, and so I'm getting worried, I'm getting nervous. 11 o'clock comes, I start calling her, no answer, no return call. So I'm calling the police by 2 o'clock, and she has people knocking on her door, checking on her, but we care for each other.
I never got a chance to properly thank you, so I don't want to cry, but I might cry. So not long after you arrived, about 7 years ago, I was hospitalized because I was suicidal. And you didn't know me, and you didn't have any idea how fragile I was, which I was very fragile, and nobody here knows that because you kept it confidential. So I think that's a gift in a pastor, to be able to minister to not just the physically ill, but the mentally fragile. And I am so grateful that you stuck with me through that. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and nobody knows. None of you know that. And full circle, last week you baptized my grandchild, which was just a euphoric day for me. I had a lot of trouble raising that girl, and she's wonderful because of this church community, as is a good part of it. She's a lovely wife. She's a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful daughter. She's in college now. She has thrived. And I am so grateful to this church for that, and also to your presence in our lives. So I want to thank you from the deepest depths of my heart.
Is there anybody else who would like to come forward? So, Pastor Paul, it's really difficult to see you leave. And we really appreciate all of your presence and all of the people that you have supported. As you can tell, it's a big community that really appreciate your gifts. And we know that wherever you go, they will be very lucky to have you. I think maybe he needs a moment to gather himself.
Different churches and different individuals have mottos or things they live by. I would encourage you to follow a motto of we love, we listen, we help. And not, we sit, we talk, and we do nothing. But, as a church, I've met some of the most wonderful people on planet Earth right here. I will mention some of them on the final Sunday. And you know them all. I'm not going to mention any living saints because it might go to their head. But it is a case where I've been privileged to serve people in ways that, I thought would stay confidential forever, but that's all right. And it is a joy to be a part of this beautiful place with beautiful people. And, it has been probably the hardest position I've ever had, but Tom Hamilton was kind of honest and warned me about that, and he said, we're put it in the clause that if you don't stay for at least 2 years, you got to pay back the moving expenses. And so I made it a little longer than 2 years, but it has been a joy to share so many things. And if you haven't read the August newsletter, take a look at it. It sort of shares just some of the highlights of the social, artistic, and sporting things we have done. And if you haven't had a chance to have a direct compliment from me, I'm here. Just come up afterwards. I can find something because of the journey we have shared together. A lot of times people just need to meet at Subway, and we've done this many times, to hear that they are gifted, they are loved, and whether they like the sandwich or not, things gonna be all right. So the church is going to be all right. Pam and I are going to be all right. So we move forward and we hope for the best. Amen.
So we're going to turn the music back on, not super loud, and if you can stay for a while, there's still food inside. There's plenty of amazing people here. We even have Jenny Rogers hiding in the back there. And what incredibly blessing we have in this congregation.
When my way precious Lord, please linger near. And oh, when my life is almost gone. Father, hear my cry, Lord. And oh, hear my call. Hold my hand.
I had tested this before. So I don't know. It's okay. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. heard the weather report is I think we need
Make the ride to the Chardon and go home another way.
Should be available after you. No, it's just very annoying. So it's not the best way. So I'm just telling Lisa Oh, you don't? No, I arranged for it. Oh, okay.
That will be welcome in the end. Mustn't let King Harry haunt your soul. Fantasize his features when you're looking at him.
Well, so for now, what it will do right. yeah.
I don't know, it's like, it's been every week for weeks, and then
Hey, if it makes you feel any better at the moment,
days off, and then I forget.
with all the issues we've had with the little camera doing the Wi-Fi and
After midnight, we gonna let it all hang.
Oh, we probably wouldn't go just because it's crazy.
Within the sound.
Go get a laptop. Okay, but it would be a lot great.
Blows away slowly, but I know I'll be alright. It's calling strong to me, and I know someone is out, 'cause I need to know what.
Oh, geez. Oh, my God. Be careful. Scare the crap out of me.
Well, okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, bye, Shirley. Are you gonna be around? That ladder supposed to go up in Main Street, or you know where the truck, the front of the truck. No, on the back. Yeah. Main Street. I can help with that.